Good morning, my dear lovely girls. How are you? I miss you so much. I hope you're doing great. Today we are going to recap the comprehension skill that we covered this week, which is compare and contrast. And we are going to apply some comparing and contrasting of events or qualities in a text and see if we can do that or not. Let's start with just a warm-up by trying to ask ourselves what is comparing, what is contrasting. Compare means to tell how two or more things, qualities or events are alike, and contrast means to tell how two or more things are different. So we said compare tells us the similarities, contrast tells us the differences. And we usually used to prepare our graphic organizers like in a Venn diagram. That's the most usual way to do some comparing and contrasting, and they help us organize the similarities and the differences between stories, characters, settings, problems. So we agreed together last time that when we compare, we use some signal words like similar, same, alike, to, similarly, both. And when we contrast, we use signal words such as different, from, but, unlike, however, in contrast. So questions may sound like that. How are, for example, apples and bananas alike? How is a car different from a bike? Which word describes both so and so? How is the character's plan different from what actually happened? Okay, those words are used to stir your imagination and try to make you feel the differences or feel the similarities. Girls, let's compare and contrast. Let me give you some examples to compare and contrast. Comparing how are those two things or more than two things similar, and contrasting how can they be different, what makes two or more things different. So let me give you an interesting example. For example, we have pairs like apples and oranges. Similarities, both of them are fruits, both are grown on trees, both have a peel, both have seeds, you can make juice out of them. Okay, when you compare them together, apples and oranges, and or say the similarities between them, here they are. But when you say the differences, or when you contrast them together, you will find that one of them is orange, the other is red. One of them is you can eat the apple peel, but the orange peel you cannot eat it, it's not eatable. Apples have a core, but oranges don't have a core. Okay, so here I'm sure that you will find it so much fun to go through the pairs. Here you have bicycles and motorcycles, cupcakes and ice cream cones, birds and kites, mugs and teacups, starfish and octopus. Those things you can compare them and you can contrast them. It's so much fun to do this. Girls, take a look at this. What does it mean to compare and contrast? Compare means when you compare and contrast, you think about how things are alike and how they are different. So let's practice. For example, we have this text. Let's read it together. Jake and Logan both have a book report due on Friday. They both have a book report due on Friday. They have to submit it on Friday. They both chose to read the same book, and they both finished it last week. Jake worked on his book report a little bit each night. By Thursday night, he just had to finish up the conclusion. But Logan, however, waited until Thursday afternoon to even start. He had to stay up very late to get his report finished. Jake earned an A on his report while Logan got a C. So here, in what ways were Jake and Logan approaches to the report the same, and how were they different? Let's check the keywords. We have the keyword both. So when we want to compare between Jake and Logan, we'll find that both of them, they have a book report due on Friday. Both of them, they have to submit their book reports on Friday. Both of them, they chose to read the same book. So both of them are doing the same thing. Now I'm comparing. Both of them did that. So now I'm saying the similarities. Okay? And they both finished it last week. So three things till now. They both have a book report due on Friday. Both of them they have to submit on Friday. Both of them chose the same book. Both of them finished it last week. Okay, those are the three similarities. Now I'm comparing between Jake and Logan. When I want to contrast, I will check the signal words. The signal words like however, okay, now I can tell that I'm contrasting, I'm saying the differences. So here the author said, by Thursday night, Jake worked on his book. First, Jake worked on his book report a little bit each night. This is what Jake did. But Logan didn't do that. Logan, however, waited until it's Thursday afternoon to start. So they didn't start together. He had to stay up very late to get his report finished. Okay, and this is the first thing. The second thing, Jake got an A on his report and Logan got a C. Do you understand? It's very easy, and you just need to give yourself time to understand, to use the text, to use the signal words to help yourself, okay? So let's practice. Here we have this sheet. I want you to check it out. Here are two stories. As you read, think about how the stories are alike. So you will compare, and how they are different, we will contrast. So please follow with me. The donkey and the mule. Mule is a kind of animal, like a donkey or like a horse. So a peddler set off. A peddler set off. A peddler is like a person, especially in the past, who used to travel from one place to another, carrying goods, okay, to different places to sell them, and small goods, okay, usually by going from house to house. And then the peddler set off on his usual journey. All the things he would sell along the way were packed on his donkey and his mule. The donkey walked along easily until they started up the steep mountain path. The poor little donkey's load was more than he could bear. He begged the mule to take a little bit of his load, so that he could carry the rest more easily, but the mule paid no attention. At last they reached the top of the mountain, where there was a small inn. Inn is like a small hotel. The donkey was so exhausted that he fell to the ground. The next morning the donkey still could not get to his feet, not knowing what else to do. The peddler added the donkey's load to the mule's load and went on without the donkey. The mule's load was heavy, but his heart was even heavier. If only I had helped the donkey just a little, I would not have the double load myself, he reflected. Now the second text, the peddler's mule. A peddler took his mule to the seacoast to buy salt. On the way home, they crossed a shallow stream, where the mule accidentally slipped and fell. All of the salt in the bags dissolved, and the mule's load was much lighter. The peddler went back and bought even more salt than before. When they came to the stream, the mule fell down on purpose. When he got up, his load was again much lighter than before. The peddler saw through the mule's trick. He understood the mule's trick and went back to the seacoast a third time. This time, instead of salt, he bought a cargo of sponges. Again, why do you think he got a cargo of sponges? Because this time, when the sponges fall into the water, they are not going to be it's not going to be lighter. Okay, the weight is not going to be lighter, it's going to be heavier, because the sponges are going just to absorb the water. So again the mule fell down. When they reached the stream, the sponges filled with water and greatly increased his load. This time he had only tricked himself. So now, since you read the two passages and you understood them, I need you to check this exercise out. Some of these details are true, or of just one of the two stories. Some are true of both stories. Some are not true of either stories. So some of those details are true for just one. Some of them are true for both stories, and some of them are not true at all. Okay, so read each detail and select the best answer. Try to do this on your own, and then take a look on the next slide to check your answers whether they are correct or not.